The 2021 World Rally Championship season went right down to the wire. An absolute thriller from start to finish. There was a title fight that was only decided on the final stage of the final rally. An Irishman shining for Hyundai. Two young guns showcasing their future talents. And Thierry Neuville and Tanak showing that they're not done just yet. It was also our last chance to see the latest WRC cars, the fastest ones ever, go head-to-head at the top level before they're retired. It was a cracking season, but from all the drivers who jumped into cars, who was it that shone the most? If you do enjoy this video, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to make sure you see every video from Goodwood Road and Racing. Petter's son is almost a year the junior of Kalle Rovenpera, which is mind-blowing because Kalle is surely still a child himself. But this season, Oliver jumped into a World Rally car for the first time at the age of just 20 and showed he has absolutely no fear. His first top-level outing brought a 7th place at the Arctic Rally Finland, a pretty daunting place to begin it all, and his final one of the season added 5th place to the list. But it could have been even better. His 7th in the Arctic Circle would have been 6th if he hadn't spun on the final stage, and he spent day 2 fighting some bloke called Ogier for position. The middle part of his season went a bit off. A few accidents and incidents began to creep in, but 7th in Spain and 5th at Monza showed that Solberg the younger learns from his mistakes. Next season, he will alternate with the experienced Danny Sordo at Hyundai, so it will be fascinating to see how he progresses. Adrian Fourmeau could have made this list. He probably sits 11th on our list of 10. The same as his WRC finishing position. Fourmeau showed that his junior promise may well be followed through with a stage win at the Safari Rally. But while Fourmeau was finding his very first WRC minor success, another junior driver stepped up further in Kenya. TAKAMOTO KATSUTA was just 21.8 seconds away from victory at the first Safari Rally in a decade. That was the kind of result that even Taka himself just didn't expect. It represented a good progression for the Japanese driver. A trio of 6 places at the start of 2021 were followed up with a brace of 4ths, and then his first podium arrived in Africa. From then, his first full-time WRC campaign went a little south, with a heavy landing in Estonia injuring co-driver Dan Barrett's neck and 3 accidents in 3 rallies following for Taka. However, this year's experience should push him on further in 2022, when he may see a clearer route to victory inside Toyota. Combining WRC2 with the European Rally Championship was a bold decision for ANDREAS MIKKELSEN in 2021. Indeed, he was a very, very busy man through the season, and at times there were questions raised as to whether he had bitten off a bit too much. Ultimately, despite COVID-19 benching him for Portugal, everything worked for the former Volkswagen man. Mikkelsen lifted both crowns he was aiming for, and there was even a moment when he seemed like he was in line for the drive at Toyota for the top level in 2022. The fact that drive slipped away is harsh on Mikkelsen. He did a solid job in 2021 and bounced back from mistakes in Croatia and Sardinia to show that he has maturity to go with his obvious speed. Does he deserve another shot at the big time? Of course. Will he get it? Unsure. There's nothing on the horizon right now. And what was it that stopped Mikkelsen's charge to a Toyota drive? The question should actually be, who? When the man known as EP said goodbye to M Sport Ford at the end of 2020, it was easy to believe that this was the last we'd see of ESAPEKKA LAPPI at the top of the WRC. That was more a reflection on the dearth of top-level seats in the WRC than Lappi's talent though, and he remained undaunted. His decision to jump into a WRC2 car for a pair of rallies turned out to be inspired. Mikkelsen had said he wanted to dominate WRC2. Not win, dominate. Instantly painting a big Skoda-shaped target on his back. Lappi turned up at Arctic Rally Finland and blew everyone away. He followed that up with victory in his only other WRC2 appearance at Portugal, when Mikkelsen was sidelined by COVID, and as it became clear Sebastien Ogier was heading into retirement at the end of 2021, a route into a Rally 1 car for 22 came into view for LAPPI. While LAPPI, Mikkelsen and Teemu Süninen were prime candidates to share that car with Ogier, it was LAPPI who won at a canter. Hiring a Yaris WRC for Rally Finland didn't exactly harm his chances, especially when he finished just shy of a podium, having not stepped into a full WRC car for 10 months. 7th might seem high for a driver who only started 3 rallies, but it is well deserved. BREEN only started 5 rounds with Hyundai in 2021, but on 4 of those 5 he was absolutely spellbinding. In the WRC's first visit to Finland, he looked strong before fading on the snow. In Croatia, he just couldn't get the car to work for him and faded to 8th. But his next 3 rallies showed why M Sport Ford has snapped him up for 2022. BREEN led in Estonia, Belgium and Finland, finishing on the podium every time. His Estonian runner-up spot was the first time he'd been in a WRC car on dirt for 12 months. Belgium presented perhaps his best chance at a debut win, but to think he could have beaten Neuville on home soil would have been naive, especially when you consider the fact that the Belgian was still in title contention. 2021 showed what BREEN has always been capable of: super speed, but with added consistency. He now needs to make this a springboard for his first ever full WRC season in 2022. Do we believe in luck? If so, then a complete lack of it defines Tanak's 2021 season. He retired from round 1 with a double puncture, and that defined his year. Back-to-back suspension problems ruined Portugal and Sardinia and his title ambitions. In Kenya, he publicly vented at his Hyundai i20's inability to clear a windscreen, but at his own home rally, it was his own mistake that put pay to the season. Ahead of the final round, which he was forced to miss for personal reasons, Tanak had set more fastest times in 2021 than anyone else. In fact, no one can come close. The 2019 champion had 10 more fastest stage times than his nearest challenger. His all-conquering victory at Arctic Rally Finland was one of the best performances of the season, but signing off his own season with a shunt kinda summed it all up. None of the gaps on this list are huge, but perhaps the one between 4th and 5th is closest. In fact, the 2 Hyundai drivers could probably have shared 4th. Neuville edges it by having scored more points and led more rallies for more time. But like Tanak, his season was blighted by incident and error. In Kenya, his suspension collapsed while he seemed assured of victory. He chucked it into a barrier at Monza under little pressure. Had things gone a little differently, he could have fought for the title, but despite his safari showcase, his lack of speed on gravel is still a baffling mystery. But what he did have was consistency. 7 podiums came the Belgians' way in 2021, 5 of those for 3rd, and they were the key to his early season foundations. This was especially important as he and new co-driver Martin Weidegger got to know each other for the first time. His season highlight was of course his win on the only WRC rally ever held on home soil, an understandably emotional win for the bespectacled Belgian. There might be only 11 months between Oliver Solberg and Kalle Rovenpera, but the 7 places that separate them on this list showcase the very different stages they're at in their development. 2021 was an incredible season for Rovenpera. He bossed Rally Estonia and dominated at the Acropolis, 2 completely different gravel rallies. It's very easy to forget 2 facts about Kalle. Firstly, this was his second ever season at the top level, and secondly, he started at age just 20. In a sport where experience rules, what the son of Harry did was exceptional. It wasn't all good though. There was a stage 1 shunt in Croatia and an argument with a pile of soil in Finland, and he didn't quite perform as he would have hoped in Finland in February. But otherwise, he was dependable, quick, and often spectacular. Now 21 and with 2 full seasons at the top under his belt, and his first win cleared away, the future is looking pretty bright for Kalle. If Elfyn Evans had not ripped a wheel from his Toyota in Kenya or suffered from the Yaris WRC's rather fragile gearbox in Greece, he would probably be your 2021 World Rally Champion. Evans' speed has long been known in WRC circles, but his stature is growing and growing. He missed out by a whisker in 2020 and was again the only man capable of keeping up with Ogier across a season in 21. As in 2020, it came down to an Ogier-Evans head-to-head in the last round, and Evans came up short again. But performances like his cruise to victory in Finland show that he must be one of, if not the, favourite pretender to Ogier's crown. On that weekend in Jyväskylä, the stars aligned for Evans. In a car designed and built in Finland, he drove like a local, and no one could hold a candle to him. There were middling results, however. Evans simply could not find a balance for the Yaris in Estonia or Ypres, and the ability to overcome a sub-optimal package now remains perhaps the only chink in Elfyn's armour. Get that bit right, and it'll be hard to stop him in 2022. Okay, so this wasn't one of those crushingly dominant seasons for the Frenchman. He won it on the final round, and he wasn't 114 points clear. There were even times when Seb looked a bit lost, like when he struggled to make an impression on the lead battle in Greece and Finland. But what that showed was that he could fight through on those days and still come out on top. He secured an 8th title in 9 years with a classic Ogier performance, not putting a wheel wrong other than a scuff with a concrete barrier, despite claiming not to be pushing and never looking ruffled in Monza. When Ogier is backed into a corner, few have the same ability to come out fighting, to land meaningful blows and win rallies through pace, performance, and sometimes sheer bloody-mindedness. That is what he did in 2021. His win in Croatia was perhaps most impressive. Coming after a road accident on the Sunday morning, he spent most of the final day wondering whether he was going to be excluded or worse, arrested. Instead, he kept his head down and pushed on to edge out Evans by just 0.6 seconds on the final stage. His 8th title was the perfect way to round off an incredible career. Those are the drivers we think performed the best in the WRC in 2021. But who have we missed out, or who should be higher on the list? Let us know in the comments below.